So welcome everyone to our first webinar of the New and Now series. This one is going to be featuring product updates for May 2023. We're super excited to have you here. For anyone who doesn't know me, my name is Alexis Eaglin, and I'm a HubSpot certified trainer here at Strat. In this New and Now series, we're going to be covering the recent updates from HubSpot and the ones that we're most excited about so that we can give you some use case examples of how you can really get some results straight away using these updates. We'll be hosting them every single month, so be sure to stay connected with us so you don't miss out on our future events. So first, we're going to talk about those big updates, the ones that are really going to help level up your portal and get you guys excited about HubSpot again. But because there are so many updates that happen every month, we do want to make sure we touch on some of the smaller ones that you might have missed, but it's still super important for you guys to know. And then finally, we'll end with a Q&A segment to make sure that we can answer any of the questions that you have. So feel free to keep that Q&A box open, jot down those questions as you think of them, and we'll answer as many as we can when we get to the end. For anyone who's not familiar with Strat, we are a diamond level solutions partner that helps you get more out of HubSpot. The three common ways that we help our clients with this is by auditing to fix any issues that might exist in your portal, implementing new hubs and features, so similar to all the things that we'll be talking about today, and providing ongoing support to make sure that your HubSpot portal is running as efficiently as possible so you can execute on your campaigns and strategies. We also offer free HubSpot support in the form of purchase assistance. So if you're new to HubSpot or you're looking to upgrade, talk to us so that we can help make sure that you get the right product mix for the features that you actually need at the right price. We also have our HubSpot Hacks YouTube channel for tips, tricks, and tutorials. To get things kicked off, I'm going to hand it over to my Strat leader and host of the webinar, Tyler Samani-Spruck, co-founder of Strat and co-host of HubSpot Hacks.
Awesome. Thanks, Alexis. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. I am so excited to get this first webinar kicked off. I don't know if they've put Red Bull on tap at HubSpot or what, but they've been putting out a ton of updates, which is awesome because it means the HubSpot you bought a year ago isn't anywhere near as valuable as the HubSpot that you have today. But it does also come with its own challenges, right? We've got to try to keep up with these updates and then even more so try to figure out how we actually use them to drive those results and drive efficiency. And so for us and our team, we've been trying to figure out how do we share this with the HubSpot Hacks community, with our clients. And this is what we came up with. So give us any feedback that you have at the end. Really excited to hear whether or not this is valuable to you, but I'm excited to share the updates with you and show you exactly how to actually use them. So we're going to be talking about 8 updates that we're really excited about that came out in the last month, and go through a few use cases for how you might be able to use them in your business to drive those results and efficiency. And then we'll end with, as Alexis mentioned, those 8 more updates that are a little bit smaller, but we think are still really important for you to know. So a couple things to know before we get into this. If you don't already know, HubSpot is kind of broken up into a few different hubs or product suites. We've got the Sales Hub, the Marketing Hub, Service Hub, etc. And within each hub, you've got the starter, professional, and enterprise version. So there's going to be some updates that we talk about that might not be applicable to you, but we did try to include a mix so that everybody in here has at least 1 or 2 updates that will be applicable to you that you can use right away. So our goal really is for you to be able to walk away from this webinar with at least 1 update and at least 1 use case that you could implement this month that's actually going to make a difference in your business. We've got a couple for marketing, especially around email reporting, a few for sales to really streamline their days. And if you're an admin, you're really going to love today's session because we've got a lot of things in there around properties and security and things that'll help just keep your HubSpot running smoothly. So the first one that we're going to talk about is a reimagined CTA tool from HubSpot. So if you've been using HubSpot for a while, you've probably seen the CTA tool, or calls to action, or the forms tool. Some of these features that are in the new reimagined CTA tool actually used to live in the forms tool. So what they've given us is they've given us a total new experience. If you go into CTAs today in your portal, what you're going to see is the first thing it's going to ask you is what type of CTA you want to create. So that's that image across the top of your screen right now. You can do a sticky banner, a pop-up box, a slide, and an embed, and you'll notice that this is pretty similar to what used to be in the Forms tool if you're familiar with that. But another big difference, and this is brand new, didn't exist in the CTA tool or the Forms tool, is this drag and drop builder. So I stole this little animation from HubSpot. That is the ugliest CTA I've ever seen, to be honest with you, but it shows you how you can start to make that look good by just dragging and dropping those elements into the form builder. I know when we used to build pop-ups and things like that using the old Forms tool in HubSpot, it was really restricted. You could only have an image on the left and just some text on the right. Now you've got a lot more flexibility in what you can do. And you also have a few templates that HubSpot has already created for you. So if you're not a designer, you need a little bit of a head start, that's in the new tool as well. Before we move on to use cases, I just want to touch on a couple things on the slides that you're going to see. So anytime we talk about a new feature and announce the new feature like this is the slide format you're going to see. So you're going to see the type of feature that's being announced on the left-hand side, but then underneath of that, you're going to see some details about who that's available for. So whether it's live or in public beta, some of the features we talk about today are in beta, which means they're still in the testing phase, but we only covered public betas. So they're things that you can still get access to today. They may just change slightly before they're launched publicly. What hubs they're in. So in this case, the CTA tool is available in either the Marketing Hub or the CMS Hub, which is the hub that allows you to build web pages on HubSpot. And then it's available for starter, professional, or enterprise. So most people using HubSpot on those marketing or CMS hubs will have access to this tool. So how can we use this tool to actually drive results for the business? So one of the things that we like to do when we're first starting with HubSpot with a client, if your website already has traffic and you're looking to generate leads, we loved to put up a pop-up right away when you're first using HubSpot that shows up for those people that are already visiting your website to either download a piece of content like a free ebook with this example that we have here, or promote content like promote an event like a webinar. And so how you would do that is you're going to use either that slide in or pop-up box CTA type that we mentioned. And if you're using the pop-up box, we really recommend using an exit intent trigger. That's that thing where if you're looking to hit the X or exit the page, it's going to trigger that pop-up. So you're not really interrupting their experience, but you're saying, hey, we've got something else that you might be interested in. And by the way, you get to convert those people into leads to drive those lead numbers for your business. So you're going to create that slide in or pop-up box. And then you're either going to leverage a HubSpot template. So this example on the right is a HubSpot template, or you're going to use that drag and drop builder that we mentioned to create your own look and feel. Another thing that you can use this tool for, and this is brand new, you used to not be able to do this without custom code, is you can actually have a button click be the thing that pops up your CTA. So this is great for if you've got a landing page that maybe you don't have room for the form above the fold, but you want that conversion action above the fold before people have to scroll down. Or if you've got a conversion path, also known as like a click funnel, that might usually require somebody to load multiple pages. Now you can just pop up a form right on that same page and make it so that they don't have to actually wait for that page load to go to that next page where the form lives. So great way to improve conversions and streamline that experience a bit for your prospects and your leads. So what we're going to do here is we would use a pop-up box, and then we would use that drag and drop builder to add a form to that pop-up box. And then you'll set the CTA as the trigger for that button. So whenever you create a landing page, blog post, or a web page inside of HubSpot and you drag and drop a button onto that page, you can select what happens when you click that button. So it's going to say, do you want to go to an external URL? Do you want to go to a HubSpot, another HubSpot page? But the new thing that you can do is you can say, I actually wanted to trigger a pop-up CTA. And if you're not using, if you've got a button on an external page, so it's on WordPress, Wix, Squarespace, you can actually add just a CSS class to that button and make it do the same thing as long as you've got the tracking code, your HubSpot tracking code on that page. If none of that meant anything to you, if you're like, what is a CSS class? Talk to the developer or talk to the person that built your website. It's a very easy thing for them to do. It takes like less than 5 minutes if you already have the tracking code there, and they'll be able to pop up a CTA with a form or any content that you want when somebody clicks a button. So awesome new way to use the CTAs tool. We've had clients ask us this all the time. We had a client actually just a couple of months ago that were like, I've got this competitor. This is what their landing page looks like. I know it works really well for them. How can we do it? And we had to go with a whole custom code solution. Took a long time, a lot of resources to do that. Now it's just as simple as turning on this feature that already exists with the new CTAs tool. Another thing that I'm really excited about on the CTAs tool is they now have CTA actions as workflow triggers. So if you've ever done anything with e-commerce or you've put something in your shopping cart on Amazon and left it there, you get those notifications from Amazon and those emails from Amazon that are like, hey, did you remember this thing you added to the shopping cart? Do you still want it? You can do that same thing now with CTAs. This does require that you have access to the workflows tool and that you can automate emails from the workflows tool. So this part of the feature is going to be limited to that marketing hub, either professional or enterprise. But if you have that, this is a really powerful way to start driving even more conversions with those CTAs. So one example here is if we're going to create a workflow, we're going to set that trigger as someone either seeing or clicking the CTA. So seeing the CTA would be great for that pop-up CTA that I mentioned. Somebody clicks on a button and then they see the CTA. If the CTA is just kind of embedded in the page, then what we're going to want to do is have them click on the CTA to actually trigger this workflow. We'll create a goal for that workflow to be the conversion that we want them to take. So if after clicking on that CTA, we want them to fill out that form or we want them to take another action, that's going to be the goal of the workflow. That way, if they ever do that, they're not still getting those automated emails. And then we'll add the emails that we want to send them. So, hey, hopefully you've got better copy than this, but hey, we saw that you took a look at our form XYZ. Are you still interested in doing that? Or maybe it's an opportunity to offer something that's a little bit more valuable or a discount if it's something that's a paid thing. So the copy in the email obviously is going to depend a lot on what you're trying to get them to do. And then you'll add delays between that email. So pretty standard nurturing flow if you're already using workflows to do nurturing. But the power here in the new feature is that ability to trigger it based on how they've interacted with the CTA, which is really awesome. All right, the next tool, marketing email analytics in custom reports. So I'm going to get a little bit technical with some of the custom reports. If you're scared of the custom reports tool or that's not your domain, don't worry. We're going to talk about an easier way to get a little bit of different reporting that's also new in those small but mighty updates later on. But for now, we're really excited about this. We already have this on our dashboard. In fact, the picture that you can see on your screen right now is real analytics about our HubSpot Hacks newsletter that some of you may be receiving, showing us, how are people opening this? How are people clicking this? We've been able to see this for a long time inside of HubSpot in the email, the marketing email tool. But now we can create custom reports, add it to dashboards and all kinds of things there. Because it can be added to the custom reports, we can also tie it to other types of records inside of HubSpot and report on those together. I'm going to show you an example of that, and that really unlocks the power around really reporting around the marketing emails. So first one, like I mentioned, customizing those dashboard reports. So this is great for sharing specific performance insights and also getting those insights at a glance. So we can do things like easily place our email performance reports next to other types of performance reports. So if we want to see how our emails are performing on the same screen as how our landing pages are performing, or how our blog posts are performing, or how we're doing at generating leads, we can put that all on one dashboard rather than having to go to that marketing analytics tool, the marketing email tool, get the reporting there, and then bounce over to a dashboard or another reporting tool to see the other insights that we want to see. We can also remove limitations of the pre-built email performance reports. So we've been adding pre-built email performance reports to dashboards all the time. One of the things that our clients really like to see is, of all the emails I'm sending, which ones are performing best? Which ones have the highest open rates, the highest click rates? And there's been pre-built reports inside of HubSpot that have shown us that for a long time. But the problem is our ability to filter those reports or customize those reports has been very restricted. So a lot of times what we did when we added those reports and we filtered, what we saw is all the automated emails. So, the email that goes out after you fill out a form or something like that is almost always going to have a higher open rate than something like a newsletter. But what our clients often cared about more was, how are our newsletters performing? Which newsletters are outliers in terms of open rates, click-through rates, things like that. Now with this custom report builder, you're able to do those kinds of things. You can also regularly send your email performance reports to other people. So HubSpot has had for a while the ability to send a dashboard to somebody else. So email that to somebody else. And you can do that at one time, or you could set it so that, we're going to send this dashboard once a week or once a month. which is really great for those stakeholders or investors or things like that have some metrics they care about, but they're not logging into HubSpot all the time. So now that we can add these email reports into a dashboard, that means we can also schedule sends of how our emails are performing to those people that may care about that might not be in HubSpot all the time. Email engagement by account. So I mentioned I would talk about an example of how it's nice to be able to report on email metrics next to other records. And if you're using ABM, this is one way to do that I think is awesome. We weren't able to do this before. This is a real example from our account for our HubSpot Hacks newsletters. We've got a lot of people from HubSpot subscribe to that. And while we're not trying to sell to HubSpot, we are interested. We want people at HubSpot to know about our content, to like our content, because that just helps us spread the word. So I was actually it was really awesome for me to be able to do this. I wasn't doing this until I built this webinar. And so I think that this use case is really cool. So what you would do here is you'd create a custom report. And if you've been in the custom report builder before, you know that the first step is selecting your data sources. So what's new is being able to select that marketing email analytics as a data source. You select that, marketing email, contacts, and companies as your data sources. Then you just create a simple table. So you select your chart type, table is an option there. And then we add our company name and any email metrics you want to analyze to columns. You probably want to filter as well. You probably don't want to see all of your companies. You probably maybe just the top 10 target accounts or accounts that have maybe multiple contacts in your system. So you'll want to filter that down a little bit. So in this case, I just filtered by anybody that's had a simple strats that associated to our company, anybody associated to HubSpot. How are we doing with open rates and click-through rates for those target accounts? So if you're using ABM and email is a part of that ABM strategy, I think this is a report that probably belongs on an ABM dashboard in your account. All right, next feature, approvals. This one is probably the feature that I'm going to talk about that is going to be available to the least amount of people on the call, just because it is an enterprise only feature. But if you're using enterprise, I think a lot of people are going to be really excited about this feature. So it's the ability to have an approval flow right inside of your HubSpot portal. So they're working on adding approvals for all kinds of different assets inside of HubSpot. The marketing emails one is already live. For blog posts, landing pages, and website pages, it is in beta. Again, it is enterprise only, and it's going to be the marketing hub for most of those assets. CMS hub is going to be required for those website pages. And so what it allows you to do is you turn it on in your settings inside your portal saying, hey, I want to do approvals. You can set in those settings. There may be people on your team that have the permission to skip approval. So maybe your super admins or maybe your marketing leadership don't have to get emails approved, but your junior employees do, things like that. And then when I create an email, for example, I'll request that approval. The person I'm requesting it from gets notification. As soon as they actually approve it, then I get a notification saying I'm ready to send, and I can't send until that's approved. So awesome way to add approvals into that workflow. And really the use case here is streamlining those processes and partnerships. So it's great for improving efficiency, great for reducing errors. So the first thing that reducing errors, right? I don't know about you, I've sent a lot of marketing emails in my day, and I always get nervous when I hit that send button because typos, missed links, having to send a correction email out always sucks. So this is one way to try to reduce those errors. Make sure you've always got a second set of eyes on those things you're sending out and publishing before they actually go out. Eliminate the need for complex task lists and separate project management systems. So I can tell you for us, for a lot of our clients that aren't on enterprise, we've got our project management system, and there's a task to create it. There's a task to send it for approval. There's a task when we get it approved, and then there's a task to send it, right? And it's another system. It's complicated. If you've got enterprise now, you can do that all right in HubSpot. More easily leverage junior employees. So if you've been scared to let that intern into HubSpot to create that marketing email because you never know if they're going to send something they shouldn't, now you can let them in and not worry about having to have them send something that maybe shouldn't go out. And last but not least, streamlining those approval flows with third parties. So if you work with a marketing agency, if you work with a freelancer, again, you can just make sure that it's all in one system. I know for us, a lot of times we send a test email to our client, and that's their signal that they need to approve it. It'd be much easier just to be able to do it right inside of HubSpot, and now you can. Conditional logic when creating records. So this is one of those features that sounds a little bit technical, but it's pretty straightforward, and a lot of our clients I know will benefit from this. So this is the ability to, when you're inside of your CRM, if you go to create a contact, a company, a deal, you hit create and you get a little pop-up on the side here that has, fields that you need to fill in to create that record. What's new is the ability to say, okay, if field number 2, let's say it's company type, you put in type 1, now it's going to ask these other questions. And so its ability to customize that, the information that you're asking for based on how they've answered other fields in it. So it's available on all of the record types, including custom objects if you're on enterprise. It doesn't require to be in pro or enterprise to use it. But I think this will be a feature that we'll see in a lot of portals and be implementing in a lot of portals. So really the use case here is getting more relevant data without having to damage adoption or data quality. So what we see a lot of times when we have like different company types or different contact types, we either have to not ask people to put in information that's relevant to that contact or company type, or we ask for all of it. None of it's required. So some of it gets skipped. People might put data in there that shouldn't be in there. So required fields allows us to control that experience and streamline that experience much more without having to ask our salespeople or other people on our team to fill in a ton of information that might not be relevant to the record that you're creating. So how you're going to do that, you'll set up conditional properties for different types of contacts, companies, or deal types. We've got a couple examples here. Maybe you put in prospective buyers versus prospective partners, or maybe you have primary contacts versus users if you're selling something like software, or maybe you've got different lead sources that you're tracking manually and you want to track different information for that. So the example that we have around the screen is this deal from a referral? If they mark yes, then we're going to ask where that referral came from so that we can get reporting around that. Another example I've got, we helped a property management company last year implement HubSpot, and they were storing individual properties as companies, as well as kind of the parent companies that might own multiple apartment communities that they wanted to track, right? And so if we're talking about a group of apartment communities, somebody that owns a multiple apartment communities, there might be information that we want about those people that we don't need about individual apartment communities, right? And vice versa. And so we had to just put it all out there and require none of it. With conditional fields, now we can go back in and really customize that for them. And then if necessary, mark those conditional properties as required. That's an awesome thing about this feature. As this example shows, we can require to put in who referred this deal if it is a referral. If it's not a referral, then that property doesn't even show up. They can submit and create that record without having to fill that information out. Prospecting workspace. Okay, so we've been talking about sales or marketing mostly. This is a really big update for sales. It is still in public beta. And because it's in public beta, it's a little bit restricted about who can access it. So if you've been using Sales Hub for a long time, there's a good chance you're still on a legacy subscription. Unfortunately, that it's not available to people who have those legacy sales seats. But if you've upgraded Sales Hub or been on Sales Hub in the last couple of years is when you added it, then you should be good to go. Once it's out of beta, I anticipate it being available to everybody that's on Sales Hub Pro or Enterprise. But what our prospecting workspace does for us is it combines a lot of different sales tools into one streamlined view that's customized for that salesperson. So they can see things like what tasks are assigned to them today, what sequences do they have contacts currently enrolled in, what does their schedule look like today, so get their calendar integrated, what meetings do they have today. And then one feature that I really like is at the very bottom, it's not on the screenshot, it's actually going to show recommended actions. So it'll show you things like, here are some contacts that have been assigned to you that you haven't reached out to yet. Or here are some people that have emailed you that you need to reply to. And I think that tool will only get more powerful as this prospecting tool comes out of beta and as HubSpot continues to lean into some of the more AI tools that they're using. So our recommendation for this in terms of use cases is to make this your homepage for all of your salespeople. So if you don't know, you can customize your homepage inside of HubSpot. That's the page that appears when you first log in. It's also the page that appears if you click on the HubSpot logo in the top left-hand side. So our recommendation is for all salespeople, make that prospecting workspace their homepage. They do have to do it for themselves. It's not something you can do for another user. So what you would want to do is teach them how to do it. And I'm going to teach you how to do it right now really quickly. So what you're going to do is just go to your settings, and that's what you'll see on settings is what's on this top picture. So you'll hit general, profile, scroll to the bottom, it'll say default homepage, and then you'll hit prospecting. You do have to enroll in the public beta before you're able to do that. We do have a HubSpot hack video that we can send out afterwards that shows you how to enroll in betas if you're not familiar with doing that. And the one caveat I'll say to this is it's great at combining all this information, right? But that information has to actually be helpful to the salespeople. So before you have them all start using this, make sure your use of tasks, how you assign contacts and handoffs, make sure that's all streamlined, helpful, following best practices. If you've got a bunch of tasks that don't really mean anything, or those handoff processes aren't really refined yet, start there. And then once you've got that polished, so those tasks are actually helpful for people, that information that they're going to see on that screen is actually helpful in their day-to-day, that's when I'd recommend turning this on. Booking meetings on behalf of other users. So this is going to be a feature where if you have any sort of handoff, it's going to be awesome for you. And this is where I can just go into a contact record and say, I want to set up a meeting between this contact record and, let's say, Alexis on my team. I don't want to be in that meeting. I just want to see, when is Alexis available, and I need to schedule that meeting between that contact and Alexis. You can now do that. You used to not be able to do that. You used to have to jump over to Google or use Alexis's meeting scheduler and go to that web page. Now you can do it just right inside that contact record. So this is great for smoothing those handoffs. So anytime you pass a lead or customer between team members on your team, this is going to be a super powerful tool for you. So these could be things like, maybe you get demo requests, and those demo requests come into a marketing manager or a sales manager, but they want to schedule it with a salesperson. Now they can do that. If you've got SDRs or BDRs and their main goal is scheduling appointments for you, this is also great if you use a third party to do that. They should be in your CRM. Now they can actually just book meetings directly with that AE from inside of the CRM. Or if you got a salesperson scheduling onboarding kickoffs. So let's say I successfully close this deal and now I want to get them with an onboarding specialist. I can see, when are my onboarding specialists available, schedule that meeting right there for them. Basically, if you're using the HubSpot meeting scheduler internally for any use case, or if you find yourself having to hop over to Google Calendars to book these meetings, there is probably a way to use this tool instead to streamline that workflow for you. All right. The other thing that this tool gives is it gives you a new thing to be able to report on. So if you've got people on your team that are responsible for scheduling those meetings, you probably want to be able to report on how many meetings are they actually scheduling for us. In the past, you could only really measure how many meetings somebody had, not how many meetings somebody created, especially when they're talking about creating it for somebody else. So if you've got like a BDR or SDR team, this is great for measuring their performance. So what you're going to do is you're going to go into the reporting tool. You're going to hit add new report, and you'll see a bunch of pre-built templates. You don't have to use the custom report builder. You can just customize a pre-built report, save you some time. You're going to find the report that says meetings booked by rep. That's the name of the report. I'll be honest with you, the name is incorrect. The name exists longer than this feature has. So what meetings booked by rep is actually showing you is how many meetings each rep held. And what we want to do is we want to customize that to actually show how many meetings somebody has booked. And so what you're going to do is you're going to click customize on that report, and you're going to add the activity created by property. So that is the new property as part of this feature. You're going to add that in the data tab when you go to customize. You're going to hop back to the visualize tab in that report customizer and just replace that activity assigned to with our activity created by. So on the right here, you can see the top report is the meetings held by rep. This is actually the default pre-built report that HubSpot calls meetings booked by rep. And then the report on the bottom is actually how many meetings somebody has booked. So how many meetings have been created. And now we can see the difference there. If we had a team of SDRs or BDRs, it'd be really important for us to see how many appointments did you actually schedule for my AEs last month, last week, etc. All right, selective email threading and sequences. Sounds nerdy. This is the one I am most excited for, because you used to have to either say, I want all of my emails threaded or none of my emails threaded. And for me, every time I created a sequence for a client, I had this dilemma. I was like, okay, I know we usually get higher open rates if we thread them, but I still want to test some different subject lines and see which subject line people are responding to most. Now you don't have to choose. It is in public beta. It's only available on the Sales Hub to anybody that has sequences. So you have to be on Pro or Enterprise to do that. But what we can do is we can test those different subject lines without having to sacrifice our ability to thread emails. So we can improve performance while also figuring out what works best so we can improve performance even more as we optimize and create new sequences. So what you're going to do is you're going to create a sequence with 1 or 2 emails threaded. And which emails you should thread are any emails that are very closely related. So a lot of times the sequence will end with like a breakup email. That's a great email to thread. Or if you've got short follow-ups. So a lot of your sequence emails should be introducing new content and things like that that are valuable to the person you're emailing. But sometimes we do just send an email that says, hey, I sent you this email last week. Did you see it? Whatever. Hopefully you're a better writer than I am when on the fly for those kinds of emails. But those short follow-up emails are great to thread. And then we're going to include a few additional emails that have different subject lines completely, because we can have the subject line be more relevant to the content of the email, which improves click-through rates, or we can test, which subject lines people are most likely to open. And then we can identify which of those subject lines drive the most opens and conversion. So when we optimize that sequence, make tweaks to it, or create a new one, we can get better performance on the next iteration. All right, last big update, and then we'll run through those small but mighty updates. I know I'm talking super fast. I want to make sure we have time for questions. You will all get the recording. So if I've lost you already, you can go back and see everything, all the instructions for how to implement any of these. But goal-based workflows. So goals have been a tool in HubSpot for a while. They're really, really powerful on the enterprise and do a lot of custom goals, but there are some goals that you can do on the professional version as well, like revenue goals, for example. We've got those set up in our portal. And what's new is the ability to trigger workflows based on how you're performing against those goals. So you used to be able to get some notification around goals, but they were the pre-built HubSpot notifications. There's only a couple options. Now we've got a ton more flexibility here. So first use case is nudging team members when we haven't hit a goal and our deadline is approaching. So we're going to do that with a workflow that is the new type. So when you go into workflow, the first thing you do is select from the left-hand side what type of workflow it is. The new type here is goal-based workflow. We're going to select that. And then we're going to set our workflow triggers so that the end date time is, in this example, 10 days from now. You can do whatever makes most sense for you. And we haven't reached 100% of our KPI yet. Then what we want to do is we want to send an internal email. So that's a step you can add. Or if you've had Slack notified, integrated, Teams integrated, you can send notifications in Slack or Teams. So I know for us, anytime a deal gets closed on the Simple Strat team, we've got a wins channel. We get a Slack with like some crazy GIF that Will has cooked up for us that month, some music video or somebody dancing or whatever that really celebrates those wins for us. Now we can do the same thing with goals, and we used to not be able to do that. And so my recommendation for that notification is to include both the KPI progress. So where are we at? Are we at 80% of our goal, 10% of our goal? And when is the deadline? I'd recommend including those at a minimum. What else you include can be different things. So maybe you include tips for how to hit that goal, or maybe you include, hey, let's schedule a meeting to review our goal performance and strategize ways we can hit that goal. And one thing to note here is there is a slight limitation. So when you create a goal, you can say, these are the people on my team that are contributing to this goal, that are involved in this goal, whether it's one person or a whole team of people. Unfortunately, you can't access that data in the workflow, so it is static. So you have to say, send this email to this user. You can't say, send this email to the user assigned to this goal. So you have to think about that when you're implementing them. Maybe you've got some if-then statements or multiple workflows to handle this. It's only going to be a concern for you if you've got a lot of goals. For most people, it'll be pretty straightforward. Got a little bit ahead of myself when I was talking about how we celebrate, because that's the other use case, is how you celebrate in style and really influence increase morale, incorporate your culture into everything you do in your CRM. CRMs don't have to be these boring things that just have a bunch of numbers. So you can do the same sort of workflow when somebody achieves a goal or when a goal is achieved. So we've just created a goal-based workflow, set that trigger to status as achieved, and send that internal email step or do a Slack or team. So whatever fits your culture. Or if you've got incentivized goals, so maybe you said, I don't know, we're gonna have a pizza party if we hit our sales goal. I don't know why I'm going to Little League incentives here, but whatever the incentive is, you can celebrate that they've reached that, notify them. I've got time to party in the example here. Really, whatever makes the most sense for you, you can do. And I think, celebrating those wins, those are the kinds of small things that really increase adoption of a CRM, gets people excited about how you're using the CRM in the company. It's those little things that really matter. All right, and again, note that that user and team thing is static, so same thing as the other workflow. Okay, so those are the use cases we're going to talk about. We've got 8 more that I'm going to run through pretty quickly. We're not going to talk about use cases because these updates, the use cases are a little bit more obvious, or maybe they're not as available across as many hubs or to as many users. So I'm going to run through these pretty quickly, but I think some of these might be the updates that you're most excited about, because these are the kind of updates where I wish HubSpot could do this, and I've been thinking about that for 2 years. And now it's here. So the small things can make big differences for us. So the first one is a perfect example of that. I don't know how many times you guys have run into this. I've run into it a lot where I want to create a phone number that I want to store. Maybe it's maybe somebody's got a second phone number or something like that. In HubSpot right now, all you can do is all you could do was a primary phone number, a mobile phone number, a fax number. If you wanted to add a custom phone number, you just had to do a single line item text. There was no validation around that. It kind of sucked. Now you can have custom phone numbers. So this is in public beta. One of the limitations around the beta is that you cannot use these custom phone numbers to call anybody yet. So if you're using HubSpot calling, or you're integrating something like AirCall, Just Call, you can't click to call on these numbers yet. But it sounds like HubSpot said they're working on it. I'm hoping that it will be with the live launch. But it is a public beta. It is accessible today. So if you have phone numbers that you're storing in single line item text today, I would highly recommend swapping them out with this new phone number property. So if you're looking for something to put on your list, that would be one thing that I would include for sure if you've got custom phone number properties already that aren't validated as phone numbers. Host of security updates. So I cheated. I threw a couple updates on one slide, but there's 3 security updates that I think are important. Obviously, the security around your HubSpot should be something you're paying a lot of attention to. You've got a lot of customer data in there. You've got a lot of proprietary data about your revenue, things like that. So I think everybody should be paying a lot of attention to how they're securing that data. And there's 3 new updates this last month that I think will help you do that. So security score notifications. So if you haven't seen HubSpot's new security center, that is relatively new. It didn't come out in the last month, so we didn't include it here. But it's just one view that shows you, kind of how you're doing on security and some recommendations that they might have. If your security score, gives you a security score, if that score isn't, they haven't really said like what the threshold is, but if there's opportunities for that score to improve, what HubSpot's starting to do is send out notifications about that. And right now they're saying quarterly. I think they're still testing this a bit. It is live, but I think it'll change and improve a bit. Large export notifications. So if somebody on your team suddenly exports your full list of contacts or 5,000 contacts, you can make sure that the super admins on your HubSpot portal are notified about that. And then the last one is if you're going to change permissions for any user, that experience that you have when you go in to change that has been changed and has been streamlined a bit. So the screen to the right here, the image to the right, is that new permissions module. So it hasn't changed drastically, but you'll notice a few additional steps. And just HubSpot trying to make that a little bit clearer, a little bit easier for you. That's a bit all 3 of these security updates are currently live and available to everybody. Email health redesign. So I told you if you're scared of the custom report builder but want to get better analytics about how your email is performing, this is the update here. So if you go into your marketing email tool, you have an email health tab that you can click on to see how your emails are performing. What HubSpot has done is they've redesigned that and also added some new features. So what they did is they changed their health score. So they changed that to a 10-point scale to make that a little bit more granular, a little bit more insightful for you. They've also added more granular health states. So you used to have 3 health states, now they have 5. And they've made it easier to report on your email performance over time. And then last but not least, there's an FAQ section. So, hey, what the heck does this mean? They've expanded a lot of information in the FAQ section. So a lot more of your questions can be answered with a lot more detail. So if you've used the email health tool, I think you'll like the redesign. If you haven't used it and you're using HubSpot for marketing emails, go check it out. I think it will add a lot of clarity to how your emails are performing over time and also how you can improve them. One of the things that I really like that they built in here is benchmarks. That was in the old tool as well. But a lot of times we get asked, I feel like my emails are working well, but I don't really know how they're working compared to other people. You can select your industry or just HubSpot customers as a whole and see how you're performing compared to those benchmarks, which I think is really cool. Editable live subscriptions. So this is a feature around HubSpot payments, which is a US only feature. If we do have anybody here from outside of the country, unfortunately, payments isn't available there. I know HubSpot's working hard on doing that. But if you are using HubSpot payments and you are using subscriptions, so I know we do for all of our clients that are on retainer packages for us to kind of help them with their HubSpot every month, we handle that through HubSpot subscriptions. And it used to be pretty restricted. If somebody wanted to go from a 5-hour package to a 10-hour package, we get to cancel that subscription and then have them, send them a link to restart the subscription, re-give us their payment information. You can see why that is pretty cumbersome. Now we can edit a live subscription without having to cancel it. So you can edit the products on that subscription, the prices of those products, the quantities of those prices of those products, and any discounts available. Either you can add a discount or you can remove an existing discount on that live subscription. We can also now create simple payment links inside of records. So let me emphasize simple, but if you've got a contact that you just need to collect some money from for any reason whatsoever, you can now just directly inside of your contact record or company record or deal record say, add new payment link. You're going to see a window just like this one where you can have the link name, link item name, and the price, send it off to them, and they can pay you. So they can pay via credit card or ACH. You don't have to worry about creating a deal and a quote or any of that stuff. You just create this link and send it to them. It takes just a couple minutes. It is very simple. So we can't pull anything from the product library. We can't add a percentage discount, and we can't set a quantity. But if you just need to collect money for something simple, you can do that now, and it's available for pretty much everybody. You just have to be starter or higher on any of the hubs. Last thing I'm gonna say about payments is multiple payment links in forms. So HubSpot's had for a while where you can add a payment link to a form. So if you're selling a course or you're selling your time and on a meeting schedule or something like that, and you want somebody to pay you after submitting that form, it used to be you could add a payment link to that, but that was the only option. You fill out this form, this is the payment link you get. Now you can say, you can give them the option to pick a payment link and you can call it whatever you'd want. I don't recommend calling it payment link. That doesn't mean anything to anybody outside of HubSpot, but you can say products, packages, etc. Set up your different payment links, add them to the form, and now they can pick which one they want and hit continue to payment and get checked out. I will say this is they have to select one or the other, and you can have more than two, but they can only select one payment link. So it's not quite like a shopping cart experience, but it does give you the ability to give your customers some options for when they're paying. All right, two more, and then we'll wrap it up and open up to Q&A. So weekly and custom goal durations. We talked about goals before. They were fairly limited in how long the goals lasted. You could set monthly, quarterly, annually. What HubSpot did was open that up a lot. So if you've got a goal that's just weekly, I know a lot of marketing metric-driven goals are weekly, or if you want to set your own custom duration, you can now do that right inside of the Goals app. And last but not least, custom views and subfolders for workflows. I cannot tell you how many portals I have opened and gone into the workflows tool and just like closed it. And I was like, I need some coffee and I'll come back to this because the list of workflows is insane. Workflows has been really hard to manage and to keep organized just because of the limitations around how things are stored there. Not anymore. In public beta, you can now create custom views. So just like you create custom views for contacts or companies, you can set filters around your workflows and then save that. So you just click on that view and the same filters populate, and you can now have subfolders. So you've been able to do folders and workflows for a while, but only one layer deep. Now you can nest as many subfolders as you want. So if your workflows are disorganized, you've got some homework, you can now organize them and organize them into folders, save views, save future you from a lot of headache trying to figure out where is this workflow that does this. So strong naming conventions are always recommended, but now adding in these folders and views, I think will save you and any agency that helps you a lot of headache. Okay, we got through it. I know we talked about a lot of things. So again, my takeaway for you is to pick one or two updates that your team could benefit from right away. Once you pick those, you've got two options. We can help you. So simplestrat.com/consult, consultation's free. We can talk about the way it makes the most sense for us to implement that feature for you, clean up your workflows, whatever it is that you want us to do, or you can do it yourself. If you do it yourself, what I recommend is that you research the update a little bit further. So every update we talked about is there's either going to be a knowledge-based page, or if you click on your company name in the top right, go to product updates and search for it. should pop up there. One or the other should have a little bit more information about the tool, how to use it. Enroll in any necessary betas. So if it is in public beta, you do have to enroll in it first. And then highly encourage you, after you implement it, measure the impact, make sure you have a success story. How much time did this save us? How much leads did this drive for us? Whatever. Measure that impact so that you can continue to measure that value that HubSpot's providing for you. Last thing, we do have another webinar series. So we've started 2 in the last month. This is one of them where we talk about HubSpot updates and how to use them. The other one is our Flywheel Fuel series. So you're using HubSpot to do a lot of things, send out emails, drive leads, all kinds of things. And the Flywheel Fuel series, what we're talking about is the best practices around those things that you're doing with HubSpot, and then how you can use HubSpot to do them even more efficiently, better, faster, whatever. So 2 weeks ago, we talked about LinkedIn and all those strategies that you should be implementing on LinkedIn and how HubSpot supports those. In a couple of weeks, we'll be talking about lead nurturing, specifically around, we've got all of those leads inside of our HubSpot portal that haven't converted yet. How do we turn them into customers? Ali is going to be talking a lot about that. So simplestrat.com/webinars is our page for all the webinars that we've got coming up. Highly recommend that you subscribe to that one if you're using HubSpot for marketing and have those leads in your portal that you want to turn to customers. All right, I think we have about 10 minutes left. Am I right?
Yep.
Cool. So I know Alexis has been watching the Q&A chat. I will give a disclaimer. All the features here are new, so there might be some questions I can't answer live. But if that's the case, we'll get back to you with answers. But I will turn it over to Alexis and let you moderate some questions.
Yeah, so first question we have was referring to the CTA tools, the new ones, just where can they find them?
Yes, so if you have access to them, they should be available to you if you go to the marketing dropdown, and I think it's under, it might be under lead capture. It's either you'll be able to see CTA or you'll be able to see lead capture and then CTAs. Trying to do this from memory, but it should be under that marketing tab. And I think it's even got a little box next to it that says new.
There was a question from an anonymous attendee, so I can't say exactly who this was, but they asked about LinkedIn tasks. But I didn't remember seeing that anywhere. So if you have some more context on that, we can come back to that question. Then I have another question on if we have any videos available that are going to talk more about how to use the HubSpot task tools.
Ali, help me on this one. What do we have on HubSpot hacks for tasks?
Yeah, we've got a couple on task queues that we can put in the post recording notes. And then I'll see if Alexis, I can get you a link to that here directly so we can put that into the question for everybody.
Perfect.
And then on quick on LinkedIn tasks, Tyler, I think that in your references you were showing it was how those tasks come up in a sequence, and they were just the task to go connect on LinkedIn. Oh,
okay. Yeah, so that in that case, so in sequences, a lot of times we recommend a multi-channel strategy for how you're reaching out to leads. So it depends on your customer base and what you're selling and things like that. But usually LinkedIn, phone, and email is how you do that. So that task isn't, you can integrate some things with LinkedIn, but that example was just saying, hey, salesperson, go find this person on LinkedIn and connect with them.
All right. Next 2 questions are talking about the booking meetings for other people. So I just wanted to confirm that you can see the availability of the other person. So.
Yep. As long as, so they, in order for, so what you're going to do is you'll click schedule meeting on the record, and it's going to pop up the meeting schedule. If you've done it before, it'll look pretty much the same, but the difference is on the top left, there'll be a drop down. And what you'll be able to see is any user inside of your portal that has their calendar connected. So they do have to have their calendar connected, their Gmail calendar or their Outlook calendar. You click on that user, and then you'll be able to see their availability, just see what's available and what's busy. And then you can book a time directly on their calendar through there. And it'll all be tracked in the CRM, and you'll be good to go.
And then adding on to that question, can you add additional people to that meeting? So maybe they want to include some other associate as well.
That's a good question that I don't know the answer to. I know you can post creation. I think you can only select one user for creating the email, but I'll have to get back to you on that. I'm not positive on that one.
We all just got some comments and love about the workflow subfolders, so love to see that. That's funny. And then we have a question on Outlook integration. So they want to know if you'll be able to see HubSpot tasks on your Outlook calendar. So I guess when the date hits that's due.
Not that I'm aware of. It's not. I don't think so. I don't think you can see tasks, HubSpot tasks in your Outlook calendar unless you schedule a meeting for that task, you'd be able to see it. But Alexis, you've probably done more with the Outlook integration than I have recently. I don't think there's a way to do that. Do you know of any way to do that?
I don't. I've never seen that. No.
Okay. Yeah, unfortunately, no. But you can do quite a bit of customization around how you get notified for HubSpot tasks. So in the app, through email, you can set up Slack notifications, things like that. But unfortunately, don't believe that adding them to your Outlook calendar or Outlook task reminders is an option at this point, at least.
And then can you also explain how do you get to the menu for booking for someone else? I don't know if that was covered.
Yeah, so that is going to be from inside of a record. So let's say I open up Allie's contact record and I want to schedule a meeting between Allie and Alexis. It doesn't have to be somebody on your team. Like I just use Allie as an example. So when you open up a record, right underneath their name, you'll see the activity buttons. One of those buttons says meeting. If you click on that, that's what will pop up your meeting scheduler.
I think that was the last question. Let me refresh here. I had a leads tab in the prospecting betas view. I enrolled in that in my portal, but I don't see the option. Can you tell me?
You caught me. You caught me. I saw that too. I was hoping nobody noticed it. So this is, it is in beta, right? So that doesn't mean the feature is changing. That feature has changed. I stole that image from HubSpot and the leads tab is not in there. So I think that they nixed that. My guess would be just out of like confusion between that and context because they don't have a lead as a custom object. But long story short, that is not in the current iteration. I don't know of any plans to add it back in.
Got some immediate feedback. No, false hope.
Sorry, Tillman.
Well, it looks like that was all of our questions.
Awesome. Well, thank you everybody for joining. We'll be doing this again next month. So if you're on today, you'll get an email about the next one that we do. If you had fun today, if you learned something, please share this. We want to make sure that we spread these updates to the world and also how to use them. So hopefully we'll see you back next month. If there's anything we can do to help you, simplestrat.com/consults, and make sure you enroll, register for that flywheel, Fuel Your Flywheel series webinar. That's a tongue twister coming up on later on this month at simplestrat.com/webinars. We hope we see you there.